Imagine a house so small that you could touch both walls at the same time just by stretching out your arms. Now imagine that a family of 8 people actually lived in it. Not as a gimmick, not as a dare, as their actual home. Hidden inside one of the prettiest villages in the Peak District of England, there is a building so impossibly tiny that it has a Guinness World Record certificate on the wall to prove it is real. This is Thimble Hall in Youlgreave, Derbyshire, and according to Guinness World Records, it is the smallest detached house on the entire planet. We are talking about a building that measures just 11 feet 10 inches wide, 10 feet 3 inches deep, and 12 feet 2 inches tall. 2 floors, 1 ladder, 0 bathrooms, and at one point in history, 8 human beings called it home. Today I'm going to take you inside this record-breaking little building, tell you the wild true story of how it was sold to the highest bidder at auction in 1999 for nearly £40,000. And at the very end of this video, I will reveal the extraordinary futuristic plan the family has for it right now, involving copper staircases and a world record collection that almost nobody is talking about. So make sure you stay till the end. Before we dive in, if you're new here, welcome to Affordable Tiny Homes. We cover the most fascinating, practical, and inspiring stories in the world of small and alternative housing. Hit that subscribe button and ring the bell so you never miss an episode. And if you already know someone obsessed with tiny living, share this video with them right now. It takes 2 seconds and means the world to us. Alright, let us talk about the most extraordinary little house you have probably never heard of. Let us start with the facts, because the facts here are genuinely jaw-dropping. Thimble Hall sits in the village of Youlgreave, also sometimes spelled Youlgrave, in the Peak District of Derbyshire, England. Despite being one of the largest villages in the Peak District, Youlgreave is home to the smallest detached house in the world. That contrast alone is worth the trip. The building dates back to the 18th century, most likely around 1756 based on architectural evidence. It is built from coarse limestone rubble with a whitewashed front facade, a stone slate roof, and a stone gable chimney stack. It looks like something straight out of storybook. A tiny, picture-perfect English cottage that you might walk past thinking it was a garden storage shed, except for the Guinness World Record certificate on its wall. The exact certified dimensions as recorded by Guinness World Records are as follows. 11 feet 10 inches wide, that is 3.61 meters. 10 feet 3 inches deep, that is 3.12 meters. And 12 feet 2 inches tall, which is 3.71 meters. The 2 interior rooms each measure roughly 8 feet by 7 feet. So the entire living space is smaller than many modern bathrooms. There is no staircase inside. There never has been. You access the upper floor using a fixed wooden ladder. There was no bathroom, no kitchen, no running water. Just 2 small stone rooms, a fireplace, exposed wooden beams, and a plank door under a thin stone hood. And yet, around 100 years ago, 8 people lived there. A whole family. How they managed it, we honestly do not fully know. But they did. The story of Thimble Hall is the story of necessity, of people building what they could with what they had. According to Jonathan Frederick, whose family purchased the property in 1999 and still owns it today, the house is tiny for the simplest possible reason. Whoever built it in the 18th century did not have much land available to them. So they built upward and inward, fitting everything into an impossibly small footprint. The location itself tells you something. Thimble Hall sits directly behind Conduit Head, which locals call the fountain. This is a water reservoir built in 1823 that supplied clean, filtered water from the River Bradford to the entire village. Before the reservoir was built, villagers had to carry water up from the river at the bottom of the valley. Once the fountain was there, people gathered around it daily. Children played. Adults washed clothes and filled containers. It was the social heart of the village, and Thimble Hall sat right next to all of that activity. The building served multiple purposes over the centuries. It was a cobbler's shop, a butcher's, an antique shop. The last people to actually live in it as a home were a brother and sister known in history by the nickname Charlie and Ginny Frisky, which was not their real surname. They moved out in the early 1930s, and after that the building stopped being used as a residence. By 1996, Thimble Hall had fallen into serious disrepair. Historic England declared a building at risk. Something had to be done, or this remarkable little structure would be lost forever. What happened next is one of the most entertaining real estate stories you will ever hear. In 1999, Thimble Hall was put up for auction. The guide price, the amount the auctioneers expected it to sell for, was somewhere between £5,000 and £15,000. A small number for a small house. Then the story went global. Bids started coming in from all over the world. By telephone from Hong Kong. I'm from Athens. I'm from New York. The auction room was buzzing. And among the bidders was none other than Uri Geller, the famous illusionist and self-described psychic. Yes, that Uri Geller. Even Uri Geller got outbid. The hammer eventually fell to Bruno Frederick, the owner of Frederick's of Chesterfield, a local ice cream manufacturing company. He paid £39,500, more than double the top end of the estimated guide price. Nearly 3 times what was expected, for a building with no bathroom, no running water, 2 rooms, and a ladder for a staircase. Here's a figure worth sitting with. That £39,500 from 1999 is equivalent to roughly £78,000 in 2026 money once you adjust for inflation. People were willing to pay what is now almost £80,000 for the privilege of owning the world's smallest detached house. That tells you everything about how much the record means. There's an interesting footnote to the Frederick family story. Bruno's ancestor is said to have walked all the way from Parma in Italy to Sheffield, a journey of roughly 1,000 miles, back in 1875. This is a family with a long tradition of bold and unconventional decisions. Shortly after the purchase, in August 2000, Guinness World Records officially certified Thimble Hall as the smallest detached house in the world, and issued the certificate that still hangs there today. It is worth making a distinction here that comes up a lot when people research this topic. Thimble Hall holds the Guinness record specifically for the smallest detached house in the world. There is a separate record holder for the smallest house in Great Britain overall. That is the Quay House in Conwy, Wales, sometimes called the Red House, which is a terrace property built into the town wall in the 16th century. It measures about 10 feet by 5 feet 9 inches and is now a popular tourist attraction. 2 records, 2 different categories, both genuinely tiny. Let us get into the detail of what Thimble Hall actually feels like as a space, because the numbers only tell part of the story. When you stand inside either of its 2 rooms, you can stretch your arms out and touch both walls simultaneously. Not to touch them, actually touch them. The rooms are that narrow, roughly 8 feet by 7 feet each. That is smaller than a standard parking space. The ground floor has a plank door, a small window, and a crude stone fireplace. The ceiling is low. The walls are thick limestone. It is cool and quiet inside. The upper floor, reached only by the fixed ladder, has exposed floorboards and a single central window that lets in just enough light. There is no insulation to speak of, no modern plumbing. The building was listed as Grade 2 by Historic England in February 1985, which means it has official protected status as a building of special architectural and historical interest. That status makes any significant modification or renovation extremely complicated and requires careful approval from heritage authorities. Visitors who have seen it recently describe the front of the building as beautifully maintained, charming, and genuinely striking against the backdrop of the village. As of May 2026, Thimble Hall remains in private ownership with the Frederick family. Jonathan Frederick, son of the original buyer Bruno Frederick, remains the custodian of the property and its future. What strikes most visitors is the mental math they do involuntarily. 8 people, these rooms, that ladder, no running water, no bathroom. How? The honest answer is that standards of living, expectations of privacy, and the definition of a home were simply very different 200 years ago. People were tougher, more communal, and had far fewer possessions. A roof and a fire were the basics. Everything else was a luxury. Here's where this story stops being just about one quirky little building in Derbyshire and starts being about something much bigger. We are living through a global housing affordability crisis. In 2025, median home prices across major OECD cities reached 9 to 10 times the median household income in several nations. In the United States, the average home price now sits at roughly $435,000 as of May 2026. Millions of first-time buyers are priced out of the market indefinitely. And into that gap, the tiny home movement is surging. The global tiny homes market is now valued at approximately $23.5 billion in 2026, according to Business Research Insights, and is expected to reach $32 billion by 2035, growing at a compound annual growth rate of 3.5%. A separate analysis from Market Data Forecast puts the segment on track from $6.39 billion in 2026 to $8.49 billion by 2031, depending on how you define what counts as a tiny home. Either way, the direction is the same: up, significantly. Here's why this matters right now. The global tiny homes market is now valued at over $23 billion. Builders using modular construction are reporting build times up to 40% shorter than traditional methods. With between 22 and 26% of the workforce still fully remote or hybrid as of early 2026, the dream of small footprint living is not a niche hobby anymore. It is a financial necessity for a growing share of the population. Tiny homes typically cost between $10,000 and $120,000, depending on materials and customization. That is up to 90% cheaper than a conventional home. And around 40% of urban municipalities are now actively loosening zoning restrictions that previously blocked small dwellings entirely. Thimble Hall was not built as a lifestyle statement. It was built because land was scarce and a family needed shelter. That tension between limited space and real human need is exactly what is driving the modern tiny home movement 2.5 centuries later. The world has come full circle. While Thimble Hall holds the Guinness record for the smallest detached house, it is not alone in the global conversation about extreme small space living. Let me give you a few others that are genuinely remarkable. The Quay House, Conwy, Wales. This is the smallest house in Great Britain, the terraced record holder to Thimble Hall's detached record. It sits on the quayside in the historic walled town of Conwy, built in the 16th century, measuring roughly 10 feet by 5 feet 9 inches. Its last resident was a 6-foot 3-inch fisherman named Robert Jones, who was eventually asked to leave in 1900 when the council declared it unfit for human habitation. He cannot fully stand up inside it. It is now a popular tourist attraction painted in bright red, drawing thousands of visitors every year. The narrowest house in the world, Acolama, Peru. In the district of Acolama in Huaral, northern Peru, there's a fully functional house that measures just 63 centimeters wide. 63 centimeters. That is just under 25 inches. The house, known locally as Casa de 63 Centimetros, was designed and built by local man Fabio Moreno, and his stated goal is to demonstrate that happiness does not depend on the size of your home, but on how well you use the space you have. It went viral globally in 2026 and has attracted thousands of visitors, making it a growing tourist attraction for the region. The 19-square-foot micro-dwelling. In 2024, a structure surfaced in international architecture and design coverage measuring just 19 square feet in total floor area. While debate continues about whether it qualifies as a livable home by legal standards in any jurisdiction, it demonstrates that designers and builders are actively pushing the boundaries of what constitutes a dwelling. The public fascination with extreme small space living is clearly not a passing trend. So what does Thimble Hall actually teach us? What can we take from this 18th century limestone cottage and apply to the way we think about housing today? Lesson 1. Space is a mindset, not a measurement. A family of 8 lived in roughly 110 square feet split across 2 floors. That is not a comfortable life by modern standards, and I am not romanticizing hardship. But it does challenge the assumption that we need as much space as we typically buy. Most of what we own, we rarely use. Most of the rooms in a standard house are empty most of the time. Lesson 2. Detached does not mean large. One of the most persistent myths in housing is that you need a significant plot of land to own your own freestanding home. Thimble Hall is proof that a detached structure, one with no shared walls, can exist on the smallest of footprints. This matters enormously for land use, for affordability, and for the future of housing design. Lesson 3. Heritage and innovation are not opposites. Thimble Hall survived because people recognized its value and fought to preserve it. The tiny home movement is not just about radical new builds. It is also about learning from the small, efficient, community-centered dwellings that already exist all around us, often hiding in plain sight. Lesson 4. The smaller your home, the lower your costs across the board. Heating, cooling, maintenance, insurance, mortgage or rent. Everything scales down with size. In a world where cost of living is squeezing household budgets harder than at any point in recent memory, that simple math is becoming impossible to ignore. Now, the reveal I promised you at the start of this video. What is the plan for Thimble Hall in 2026? And why does it involve copper staircase? According to Jonathan Frederick, who inherited custodianship of the property from his father Bruno, the family's goal is to transform Thimble Hall into an extraordinary museum and gallery space. And they have already commissioned the architects to design it. Bench architects were engaged by the Frederick family to create a proposal for a compact rear extension that respects the Grade II listed heritage status of the building while solving its most obvious practical problem: that wooden ladder. The design includes a folded patinated copper staircase to replace the original ladder, providing proper access to the first floor. The extension also incorporates a prefabricated toilet pod, meaning Thimble Hall would, for the first time in its history, have a functioning bathroom. The extension itself uses a glass envelope to connect old and new, letting light into the space while keeping the historic limestone front completely intact. It is genuinely one of the most elegant solutions to a heritage conversion challenge you will find anywhere in England right now. And the centerpiece of the museum? The world's largest collection of thimbles. Actual sewing thimbles. The Frederick family has been quietly assembling what they believe is the largest thimble collection on the planet, and they intend to display it, illuminated by changing LED lights, inside the world's smallest house. The world's smallest house. The world's largest thimble collection. Inside a building named after a thimble, with a copper staircase and a glass extension, and a bathroom that has never existed before in the building's 300-year history. You genuinely cannot make this up. As of May 2026, the Thimble Museum has not yet opened for public tours. The conversion remains an active project, but the ambition is real, the architectural plans are real, and the family's commitment to this remarkable little building is undeniable. Watch this space. Thimble Hall is more than a curiosity. It is a reminder that shelter, community, and human ingenuity have always found a way to coexist in the smallest of spaces. While the rest of the world debates how to solve a housing affordability crisis measured in the trillions, a limestone cottage in Derbyshire that has been standing since the 1700s quietly answers the question. You do not need as much space as you think you do. A family of 8 once proved that in the most extreme way possible. If you made it to the end of this video, thank you. It means a lot. Drop a comment below and tell me what surprised you most about Thimble Hall. Was it the size? The family of 8? The Uri Geller story? The copper staircase? I want to know. And if you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button right now. It helps the channel more than you know, and it tells YouTube to share this content with people who genuinely love tiny home stories. Subscribe if you have not already. We put out new content on affordable housing, tiny homes, and alternative living every single week. There's a lot more where this came from.